What up, everybody? Welcome to week 4 of Sportsify. I am your host, Matt Novak. With me, as always, my co-host, Grant Hocker.
What's up?
On the third mic, Jamison DeFore.
Yo.
We got back to normal, gentlemen.
In a lot of
much
ways.
Normal finally happened. The teams that shouldn't have had, 0 losses on the record, added some losses to the record. We knew it was coming. I said it at the end of the week last week. It is inevitable that good rises, mediocre hits their spots, the bad
cream
falls
rises to the top.
The cream rises to the top.
And that
It's
will
a
be
really
reflected.
stupid analogy.
But it'll be reflected in our pick'em. It was our best week.
It will. It
But-
will. We crushed outside of Mike because we bet against him hard.
And
Maybe we don't suck as much as we thought we did.
Maybe not. Maybe we actually know what we're talking about.
Time will tell.
Maybe we know.
Maybe no. A thing or two. But before we get to all the things that we don't know for sure, because we're going to talk about some of the stuff we don't know, let's talk about the things we were certain of. And we were certain that there were some crappy teams playing right now in this league, and we've been making fun of a few of them. And let's just get the ugly out of the way, boys. Most of us thought, and we did think that Dolphins versus the Titans was our toilet bowl game of the week. We even jokingly talked about putting it on our pick'em last week.
Yep.
It was not the worst game you saw all weekend. You may be like, dude, did you see what Will Levis did this week? Yes, I did. And I saw what he did the 3 previous weeks. All of it is hilarious.
Continues to have amazing photos every week. That generational run of just a photo every week that ends up being the funniest photo ever. He's continuing it. He's keeping it alive for us.
He gives. It's all he
Yes.
does. He's a giver.
I wish he provided this much goodness for his team, even though goodness isn't a word, really like that well of a word, but
it's fine.
For us, we're going to enjoy it.
We're having a great time with it.
Awesome.
But that was not the worst game of the weekend, though I did send some screenshots to you guys at halftime about the stats. No, the worst game of the weekend was definitely the Broncos versus the Jets.
Round of applause.
Oh my gosh!
So
I mean,
bad.
you guys crushed it there, 10-9, with the Broncos getting the W, which is insane. Both offenses struggle to find a rhythm. Teams combined for just 2.19 yards per play in the first half. This game
Plays, not running plays. Plays in general.
Plays in general. And this game had 15 punts. 15. Knicks had a rough start, completing only 7 passes for -7 yards. Rebounds in the second half.
One of the funnier stats I've ever seen.
Oh, this was the game that giveth in regards to horrible stats.
Yeah.
He got his first NFL touchdown with the third quarter pass to Cortland Sutton. All of you Cortland Sutton owners said, thanks, finally. That capped an 87-yard drive to give Denver the 7-6 lead. Both teams end up kicking a field goal there. I think both of them were in the fourth quarter. I know the last one was.
And then Zerline missed one to win the game.
Right. And credit, Rodgers did get him down there on that last drive. I mean, he got him there. I think it was a 49 or 50-yarder, though.
It was a 50-yarder.
It was a 50, yeah.
In those conditions. Not a gimme.
Well, yeah, that's the thing we
No.
didn't mention, too. It was an absolute downpour. So, I mean,
Yes.
that doesn't help. But still,
was-
10-9 is still inexcusable when you're professionals at what you do. 10-9 is terrible.
You're not wrong.
And especially for Aaron
and-
Rodgers, dude. Like, come on. You played your career in Lambeau
Yeah.
with snow.
A guy
And-
of your experience should be able to manage that sort of
You should be able to
game.
put up at least 17 points. Like, come on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. Knicks ends up going 12 for 25. His counterpart there, 60 yards total and a touchdown.
I think that's even funnier than the halftime stat. And that this was the stat line for the winning quarterback. 12 for 25, 60 yards and a touchdown.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It was
I think
magical.
that's awesome.
Absolutely magical. I did watch some chunks of this game, and it was
Why?
you guys. It was because
Yeah.
it was incredible.
I saw the scores and I'm like, no thanks. Like, I'll steer clear.
Dude, there were, I think it was 7 drives in the first half that didn't go 10 yards.
Dude.
Like, it was
So bad.
so terrible. I was cheering for it to suck worse.
I
as
mean,
the
this
season
is
went on.
what was the game? Remember, you guys remember? I think it.
Bills Patriots. I was just
Uh,
about to say that was one that came to mind. If
Oh, is that
that's
the
the like
6-3?
that, yeah, that was like the we're
I
just gonna only run the ball and Mac Jones is gonna throw like
Oh
40 times
gosh,
the whole
yeah, because
game.
we were recording when during that game. Remember?
oh, I think we
Yeah,
might have. Yeah,
yeah,
the
that
one
was
I
a
was thinking
extreme
of.
wins game, I think.
I think it was the first game, the first season that Russ was in Denver, and there was a really bad Thursday night game.
Oh,
That was it
yeah.
was the I don't
Yeah,
know who they were playing, but the score was something. It was like single digits.
yeah.
Like I don't remember what it was, but it was also just horrendous. Let me see if I can find it now because now I'm
You,
curious.
I mean, to be fair, like this isn't the worst. So for me, the hardest football game I've ever watched, I think, in my life.
And I guess
Um, you're probably gonna assume it's your Super Bowl.
no,
That's
I
terrible.
was gonna guess NFC championship against the Eagles.
Oh, well, no, that yeah, that okay. I'll take it
Just
back.
because
So
it was
second worst
basically
game I ever watched in my life.
yeah.
You're right. That was incredibly hard to watch. Second worst game ever was the 6-3 Alabama LSU game. I believe it was back in 2012. That was the worst football I've ever had to watch in my life. Supposedly, I mean, just elite players all over the place. Several, I mean, many went to the NFL, but most of them were linemen and defensive players. That was borderline unbearable to watch. The ball basically just stayed between the 20 and the 40 of each team's side of the field for
Mhm.
almost the entirety of the game. It was awful. And that was indoors, just for the record. There's no weather involved,
That
but
is
this was
pretty
pretty bad.
terrible. At least there's like, I don't want to make excuses for these games because they still shouldn't be as bad as they are with those kinds of conditions, but at least there's like a condition that you're worrying about instead of just like in a dome, true skill issue. Like that's insane.
So it's a fair, and I understand like we all react to games as part of what we do here on this podcast is we're just reacting to what happened, and in this moment, I think it's a fair question to ask. Okay, um, and we don't ever want to like sign off on somebody's career. If you can hear that car behind me, it's pretty magical. Um, but we want to sign off on somebody's career or say, oh, you've had too many injuries, blah blah blah, you're just freaking done. But I think we should start questioning, is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time finally hitting the end?
I
Like,
mean,
genuinely. Because bro does not look like a guy anymore.
well, but also like, I, I mean, I think James and I definitely have had our criticisms of Aaron Rodgers here before with some of his, off the field stuff, him being kind of a brat, and that kind of stuff. Apparently, teammates love him, but some of his just like distraction because he's been a distraction. Whether you like him or not, he's definitely been a distraction with some of his stuff. Um, to me, I just go, why do you keep come on, like the Jets aren't gonna win a Super Bowl. Like their window's not open. They don't have a window. Like they've got some good pieces, but like Garrett Wilson hasn't gone over like 50 yards or 60 yards this season yet. Like some of these guys who we thought were gonna be like Brees Hall, like was a nothing burger in a game where he should have thrived, you know? And so like they don't really have the pieces there. I mean, I do think that if this continues to go down this track, I don't think Robert Saleh is the coach anymore. I just think that you've seen enough with and without Aaron Rodgers, and if he's going to be gone, why would you keep Saleh? Because again, you've seen what he does without him, and so I just think I just don't think he's it anymore. Um,
Yeah.
if you
And I
want to prove me
mean,
wrong, great. I'll eat my words if I'm wrong, but
yeah, I mean, I would love to see it because when we have Aaron Rodgers playing Aaron Rodgers football, it's like one of the more exciting things that you can watch on a
oh, we were
Sunday.
so excited for it last year, right? Like the hype around this team,
Yeah.
Aaron
Yeah,
Rodgers being in the AFC with now
6
Patrick
primetime
Mahomes.
games they had scheduled.
Yeah.
it was one of those things where I think I was more bummed than I would have otherwise anticipated if you just told me that like, oh, Aaron Rodgers isn't playing this year. Because again, that was kind of peak, like, okay, he's just kind of being annoying now, but there's still a void that I want filled by how Aaron Rodgers played football. It's hard to know if he's going to be able to be back there considering his age and his injury. But another kind of key point to some of their failures here is he's also very attached to guys like Nat Hackett. That is
Yeah.
certainly not helping the situation at all.
No.
Um, a
because
lot of
that's my
blame sure
follow
could
up.
be on Saleh, but yeah, Nat Hackett is just dumpster fire.
Yeah, and that is my follow up. If we don't think that he is the problem, if Aaron's not the problem, because I said what I said, but let
Mhm.
me give you this: in 4 games, the guy has averaged 212 yards a game and a touchdown and a quarter, and he has 1 interception, which he threw to the 49ers in week 1. So he's 5-1 touchdown and interception ratio with 849 yards. His passer rating right now is a 92.9, which isn't phenomenal, but it's obviously hurt significantly by the cruddy game he just played against the Broncos and having to play
Right.
the 49ers in week 1. So to me, what I watched was a team who, in a bad weather game, couldn't run the ball at all.
Yep. That's my
Um,
big thing. Like Brees Hall should have showed up and had 160 yards rushing
He should have
and 2
feasted.
touchdowns. Yeah.
and not only did he not do that, but he wasn't the team's leading rusher. Braylon Allen was, and I think he had 40 something yards if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And Brees Hall had 14 carries for like less than 20 yards.
I mean, he had like 2.9 yards. I mean,
Okay, a little
points
over.
in fantasy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so maybe it would have been about that because I think he had a catch. So anyway, just looking at it, like, I don't understand Aaron Rodgers' loyalty to certain people when
Mhm.
there are no results. Like, dude came out and figured out some stuff with Lazard, started making some things happen. They played 2 crappy teams, got 2 wins against the Titans and the Patriots, bottom barrel teams. But like outside of that, just his faithfulness to Hackett and to allowing people like that in his life, mediocre receivers, and
Like, I'm
I know
sorry.
what
Like, Lazard is not. He's a guy. He's just a guy. Like
he's a third receiver.
like yeah.
Mhm.
But yet that continues to be. And then it was who was the other guy? The slot guy, Randall Cobb, right?
Oh
Was he
yeah.
with the
His
Jets?
loyalty to Cobb,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's always been
Yeah. Like, they're
which
okay. They're fine. Like,
yeah,
but that's all they
Cobb's got
are.
great hands and isn't a route runner. Lazard is a streak runner, and has 50-50 catch ball ability, but mediocre at everything else.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't get it. In our point being here is his loyalty translates to bad football, and that was absolute garbage what they put out
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
And they can't be happy about that product at all. They honestly, like, they did fine against a rookie quarterback. The defense did put him in places to succeed. Z gets a tough call at 50 yards at the end of the game. Rodgers did get him there. We'll give a little bit of credit, but like, it's just, how are we going to feel good with a 12-10 win if that one goes in? How do you really feel that good about that? How do you feel good about the rest of your season when you're scrapping and clawing just to get garbage wins like that, with just a bad offensive system with players that don't really fit what you're doing? It's not a good team. Like, they're
Mhm.
Oh,
just not at all. And I think we can expect a lot more of that kind of crap from them for the rest of the season. They look like they're going to get 6-7 wins.
yeah, probably.
And this is a team on paper that, myself included, a lot of people were, pretty, maybe not high on is maybe not the word, but like had expectations of this roster
10, 11 wins. Yeah.
based on who it is
Yeah.
and could they win the division? Because I think we all thought that the Bills maybe take a step back, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. It's almost a bit of a role reversal for what I would have expected. But here we are, and that team that looks great on paper is not very enjoyable to watch, which at bare minimum, I want to be able to enjoy watching Aaron Rodgers, and I can't even
Well, and I
past that
think
point.
too, in terms of playoff implications, like, their easiest path would be through the division, winning the division, or not the wild card, because
Mhm.
you've got teams like the Steelers and the Ravens both, you know, eyeing for their spot. I think the Bengals can still maybe figure some stuff out.
But the Bengals going to run, they're already on the heels of the Jets is the problem when you lose a game like this.
Yeah. But like, I just think that, like, they're not going to win the division, so it has to be a wild card. But I like a lot of, at least, the potential of some of these other teams. Maybe they even are 1-3 or things like that, or 2-2, that I like way more than what we're seeing
Mhm.
from the Jets here. So
Before we finish on this, just quick honest opinion. Would you rather be the Broncos that are on the slight up, or would you rather be the Jets and be in that situation where you just can't figure crap out?
I would rather be the Broncos because I don't have any expectations.
Yeah, if I had to be a fan of one of the teams, I would rather be a
100%.
Broncos fan.
Like, because also one thing I texted, like the Broncos have beat now the Bucks on the road and the Jets on the road. Like, that's not nothing.
It's 2 good wins.
Like, those
Yep.
are good wins. Like, especially with a team that has an Aaron Rodgers and Baker Mayfield is playing really well.
Yeah,
Like,
and a lot of those wins are like despite this or despite
yeah,
quarterback play and things like that. And it's just like
Mhm.
at some point, like I think Sean Payton has lost a little bit of his fastball, but it's at times like Tomlin is another prime example of this. Like we'll clown the Steelers rosters going into years all the time, and guess what?
they're
9-7.
3-1. They're 3-1 right now.
Yeah,
That
Well, and
they'll
I just
finish
look
the
at
game with a
and I
winning record.
just
They'll make the playoffs, and
and
it's
I
like, how did they get here? They just kind of won football games, and so it's kind of what Denver
Well,
is doing.
so in the next 4 weeks, wait, sorry, 5 weeks,
yeah.
they play the Vikings, Bills, Steelers, and the Texans. I don't have them winning any of those
Those are
games.
all L's in my opinion.
Yeah. I will take the
Sorry.
Steelers. I will take the Bills. I'll take the Vikings and the Texans in all those games.
Is that the Jets or the Broncos? Sorry.
The Jets.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah. I mean,
And then
probably.
they still have to play the Seahawks and the Bills again and the Rams. Now they
Yeah.
got some stinker game teams they'll play, but overall, like, that's potentially like
Mhm.
7 or 8 losses just right there.
And
Yeah, they're playing
and
the
even if you
Dolphins,
get
so
yeah, and maybe you get that, I still think it's possible you can have like a 1-4, 1-5 like nuclear Aaron Rodgers game. So he might have 3 or 4 more games this year where it's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers like 280 passing
Sure.
yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks.
sure.
know,
But and to my point earlier, he's at that point in his career where he's gonna flash.
It's Travis
He's
Kelce
just
is
he's gonna
is exactly
yeah
what he's doing too. Except
he's
Travis
gonna
Kelce's
flash,
pacing
but he's
himself
not
for
gonna
a
be
postseason.
consistent. Yeah. Well, a team that we just mentioned several times. I want to get to some fun stuff because we got some fun things that happened this weekend. A team that I will now be rooting for the rest of the year. If I'm being really honest, it excited me to see that someone was playing football yet again. Joe Flacco on Sunday
Is
got to play
inevitable.
NFL football at 39 years old, coming up on his 40th birthday. I learned something this week. I've outed myself on my age before. I'm older than Joe Flacco.
And here you are talking about sports and
You
he's
could
playing
still
it.
be in the league, man.
Yeah, come on, dude. You got it.
Hey, bro, give me 2 weeks. Put me on. Need Jamison to set me up with a diet. Specific. Need some anti-inflammatory. Add that protein. I'll get in the gym at 4 a.m. Let's go.
Never say never.
Hey,
right.
I don't know if I could play worse than Tyler Huntley. So there's that.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
There's a lot of bad football
but-
players out there, so
There's a
You never
lot
know.
of bad ones, dude. Joe Flacco is incredible. Anthony Richardson gets knocked out of the game in the first quarter, doing something similar to what we saw Tua do. Fortunately, not a head injury. Don't wish that on anybody. But Richardson diving forward, hurts his hip, goes out of the game. Joe comes in and just does what Joe does. He throws the freaking ball.
bro, he's probably
And-
he's the new Joe Cool to me. Like, I'm
What?
just gonna keep it real.
Yeah.
He's
I didn't
he's
really
the
have
new
an
Joe Cool.
appreciation for him like that until he started doing stuff last year again. And I was like, you know what? Like, that's actually, he's like the old guy at the YMCA. And by old guy, I mean like, the 45-year-old dude. You're like, no way this guy can like play ball. But no matter what team he gets put
He's
on, he's
hooping.
like, has chemistry with people he's never played before. And just like, it's always in the right place. It's just like so odd because
Yeah.
he'll just bounce around and do it. And like can
So-
also sustain it until like a postseason and then ultimately, fall off. But it's still
And-
insane.
To tell the short story, though, bro comes in, team scored a touchdown, gets the Colts up and ahead during the game. Credit to the Steelers, they came back from being down massively in this game. There was a 14-0 lead in the first quarter for the Colts. This one ends up being 27-24. Flacco and the boys get it done. No, well, we can't skip over some Jonathan Taylor credit too, because holy
Hmm.
cow,
He's
dude,
back, folks.
he's back and by far the most patient runner in the NFL. Watch those highlights from Sunday.
Yeah.
Incredible to watch him just sit there behind a guard, watch the guard turn a body, and then he just goes oppo. Like beautiful running. And yeah, it was textbook just a zone run scheme for that guy. Loved it. Loved every second of those highlights. I watched every offensive play of that game
Well,
for the Colts
I
because I
mean, Joe
just wanted to see all
Flacco
that Flacco did.
comes in. I got the stats. Completes over
Did it?
60% of his passes, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, 106 passer rating. No picks.
Yeah. Let's go.
Like,
Let's go. I'm
Yeah.
cheering for this guy
that's perfect.
forever and ever. That said, boys, I have some Joe Flacco stats in front of me.
Oh, is this
You're making a Hall of Fame
it?
case.
I am not.
Is this trivia?
But I have some Joe Flacco stats in front of me. Yeah, I do have a light trivia.
Oh, okay.
This is a very short one. First of all, over under Joe Flacco, $167 million earned in the NFL as of today.
I'm going to say over because I remember he got that fat contract at the time after the Super Bowl.
You said it's 160 what million?
167 million.
Feels oddly specific. Just because Jamison went over, I'll go under, but I think it's like 165 or something like that.
No, I was being a butt. It was 180 million.
Oh, okay.
And so just not slightly, 13 million over. As of right now, and he's finishing out his I say that because his deal this year is fully guaranteed.
Okay.
But had played on a 1 year 2.5. I think last year played on a 1 year 3.5, and then got himself I think it's 1 year 5 million. That Steichen got him to come into this job, but dude's made 180 million in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that win that he got on Sunday because the percentage of snaps he played also earned himself an extra $100,000.
Dude,
so that was not nothing.
makes that much money. Also, a Super Bowl win. Like, you're happy with your career. Like, come on.
One of the best postseason performances by a quarterback in the history ever.
Yeah. Like,
Yep.
You're happy with your career. Like, you've accomplished everything you want to do. You win a Super Bowl. You make your money.
Super Bowl.
Like, come on.
It's games like that makes him his money. Because the only reason you keep stacking that money at this age for that long is because you can go in. Like, I don't know what the dollar amount would be, but how much money do you think a team would pay to like win a game? Because
Like
when
one game?
One game?
Yeah, because when your quarterback goes down and you have
Especially
to pay
someone
a guy,
like Anthony Richards who still has not learned to protect himself.
Yeah, you have to pay a guy to fill that spot, even if it's just one game, to say, hey, we're going to throw you in there because we need to finish winning this game.
Yeah.
And compared to all the other backup quarterbacks, there's only, I feel like, a handful truly that you feel like, okay, like if they go in there, I feel like we still have a chance to win this game. And so that's how Flacco gets all of his money.
I would be willing to bet every owner in the league would give up their stadium income for that game for the win.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that amounts to be. I've heard numbers reported as high as like $15 million for some of the playoff games. Is stadium
I believe
income. So you talk parking and concessions and all the extras that they throw into their crud, their merch sales, their profit on merch sales, all that crap.
Mm-hmm.
Heard it like over $15 million. I bet you they would give it up, whatever it is,
for that game,
for each win that they get. Yeah, because the dub's the dub, and then you move.
Like that
on.
is the most important commodity in the NFL is the win, because then you keep fans coming back.
Yep, and so you have to pay a backup quarterback who is capable of still doing that, and so that's why who knows how much gas he's got left to tank. But when you're also kind of basically just playing part-time football, like almost literally, I think it was last year, maybe it was one of his other stints where he basically came from home. He's like, I've been just throwing a football with my kids. Like that's kind of what I've been doing.
That was last year. Yeah,
with the Browns.
Last year before he signed with the Browns.
Yeah, and now he's like, okay, I guess I'll go drag this team to the playoffs and kind of like throw it around the yard a little bit. It's because you get a lot of time off, but he's getting paid.
And for those of you that don't remember, last year he came off the couch, threw 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, had over a 90 passer rating, completed over 60% of his throws. Here's my questions for you guys. Okay, I got just a couple. Just real quick on him. What year? Or sorry, um, when is the last time that Joe Flacco threw in a season more interceptions than touchdowns?
Mm, did he
Keeping
start?
in mind, keep in his career, for his career, how many seasons, or when was the last season that happened? This, and he's been in the league since 2008.
I mean, I'm probably
When was
gonna.
he on the Jets?
Oh, he
He
was
was
on
on the
the
Jets in
Jets.
22 and 21 as backup both years, or and 20 as well. My bad,
Was he
20
with
to
the
22.
Was he with the Broncos at one point too?
He was for 2019.
I'm gonna say that.
I'm gonna say the 2020 Jets.
This is actually a trick question.
Never.
He's never done it.
In one sense. So 2013 is when
Super
that
Bowl.
happened, but there's
But
2013 he threw 19 touchdowns, 22 interceptions. I said trick question because I was sorry guys. Just out here choking on bugs. No big deal. Um, I it's a good time. We can just cut all this, right? It's totally fine. No, I know it's
dead
gonna stay
air.
in there. My bad. It's totally my bad. So anyway, um, that was his the season that he signed his deal. It was 2013. I say
Because
that's why it's
2012 was the
trick
season they
question.
won the Super Bowl.
Actually,
Correct.
that makes sense
Because
because I remember being like, "Wow, Flacco kind of sucks."
Yep. Well, it goes back to what I said last week, and I say this all the time. Don't pay people. Like if you really want to lose the next year, offer somebody a nice fat contract because they're either getting hurt or they're going to suck. He did a little bit of both that year through 19 touchdowns, 22 interceptions in 2013. That is his one and only season which that has ever happened. Can you tell me how many times Joe Flacco threw 30 touchdowns in a single season?
this is
I'm gonna
including playoffs.
say
This is
No, this is regular.
just regular
Just
season.
regular. Yeah, that's a little unfair. We get different game amounts there.
I'd say like two. I don't think it's that many.
I'm gonna say 0.
Jamison would be correct. He
Stop the count.
threw
Stop it. This is rigged. This is
he in
rigged. He got the answers ahead of time.
2014, the year after he threw 19 touchdowns, 22 interceptions. He threw 27 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. That is the
Not bad.
most that he has ever thrown, is 27 in one single season, and he has made $180 million in the NFL.
Good for him, man.
Love that. Love that one. But no, I was super, super glad to see him do well in the game, obviously. But what was not surprising to us is that the Steelers finally lost one. Justin Fields, had a decent game by all accounts. Got him back into it when they were down. That defense also stiffened up quite a bit between in the second and third quarter there for the Steelers. The ball was not moving up and down like it had been in the first quarter, and Steelers at 3-1. If you would have told me that was what their record was going to be after 4 games, I would have been like, "Oh, okay, so that's better than we thought." Like that's
Yep.
probably what I would have
Mhm.
said. I would have put them around to 2-2, just a dead even. But 3-1 for them. Still a great start, and losing by 3 points on the road, not a big deal.
No.
And like I said, that the Colts defense was playing lights out early, gave up some big plays here and there. They needed, I think, they needed this win to set them up going forward. The emotion of losing your quarterback, going to your backup, all those things. Colts needed to get this dub in order to look at the rest of the season and feel good about their chances, at least. It's a winnable division for sure. So
Yeah. To provide an update from Shane Steichen on Anthony Richardson, he says, quote, "It's not a huge injury. The hip
couple
is
weeks.
sore, but not serious."
I
So I don't know if
I
that doesn't really say a whole lot if that means he's out, but I mean, that's also not.
Jamison never likes this because he knows they're going to try and rush a young quarterback back, right,
Well,
well,
Jamison?
also it's kind of what they did last
absolutely.
year. 'Cause they're kind of like, oh, it's not that bad, and then he's out for the season.
Well, and you saw like a microwaved version of that in the game because it was the play or so before that where he got banged up, came out, went back in. The first thing that Steichen draws back up is the quarterback run, and then he gets hurt again.
Yeah,
And so it's
Yep.
like, even in the middle of the game, I think Steichen amongst the show, I would say pretty popular guy. I think we like a lot of what he's
yeah,
doing there, but the decision to run him like that after he was just pulled out of the game was a bit of a
Right.
question mark for
dude,
me. And
and
so that gives
That
me
was a
some
designed run.
concerns.
That was a designed
Yes,
run.
it gives me some concerns with how they're going to handle it moving forward with the rest of the season.
yeah. Well, and I would
Because if
just
you're
go,
going to do it right there, who's to say he doesn't come back again? This happens again. Now, this is a guy who, for his first 2 seasons, has kind of been plagued with injuries. And then it
but this is
tends to go
also,
downhill from there.
man. I want to say the same thing we were saying with Tua. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, that's just where I go. Like, I know you're playing hard, but like, as a quarterback, it's not your job to fight for every yard, and to be diving like that. That's the job of your running backs, man. Like, that's the job of Jonathan Taylor, your wide
Yeah,
receivers, things like that.
I like
Maybe,
that.
if it's 4th and 3, game on the line to get into field goal range, yeah, maybe you go for that. But like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, you've got this career ahead of you. Like, why are you doing this? Like, it's the same with these types of quarterbacks. Like, Lamar Jackson was doing that early in his career. Like, he was, doing this kind of stuff. These mobile quarterbacks, the RG3s, Kyler Murray's now has an injury history now. And I'm just like, dude, like, this is not worth it for this extra yard for you to be out 2 games, like, or 3 games or the entire season. In some of these cases, I'm just like, dude, like,
There certainly is an element of like it it's hard to tell guys not to compete, especially like
yeah,
young guys, but
and I
it's
get that. I'm just some Joe Schmo sitting behind
yeah,
a microphone
but
on,
the thing with
talking
that
about it.
is like in order to properly compete, you also have to do certain things.
Yeah,
And like Josh Allen, obviously we know what he can do with his legs, and he's a big guy. He's not afraid to lay the wood, but he's not doing that every play. Obviously, he's
yeah,
a much better thrower right now than Anthony Richardson, but those are things where you have to realize that because you have these physical gifts, there's a lot more at stake here than that extra yard. And I understand there are moments where it's maybe appropriate to do
yeah,
that or to not do that, but
Mhm.
league wide, nobody's going to say you're not competing. Your teammates aren't going to say you're not competing if you keep yourself in the game and
yep.
safe. Because
And
the moment
for
you
next
go
week
out, yes,
and
exactly.
the
The moment you
following
go
weeks,
out, now you've done more harm than good. And
yeah,
again, I'm not saying that it's his fault inherently because things are just going to happen, but it's the decision making that he hasn't been able to have because he was
yeah,
also out last year with an injury.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm like, I just think
rough
of
spot.
like people make fun of him all the time for it, or like I see it, but like Tyler Lockett is a master at not taking hits, but he is still valuable to his
Mhm.
team and close to 1,000 yards every year.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he'll just hit the ground. He's a small guy, but like he'll just hit
Yep.
the ground. Like he's got the first down. He doesn't need the three extra yards. He's got the first down. And so I just think of
Yep.
like, and then he provides himself. He's the best ability is availability, right? What we've said before. It's what we'll continue to say. And so I just think that like, dude, like, be smart about it. You're young. You already have an injury history. Like you don't
Yeah.
need this, more. So
I couldn't agree with you guys more. Somebody said it really well this last week. Like somebody needs to tell Anthony Richardson that he's not running into college players.
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
they want to
and
take your
and
head
I
off,
would,
and
yeah, dude.
in a competitive way. They want to take your head off.
Yes, and honestly, I would say he's running more like a high schooler than anything else. Like just reckless abandon.
Mhm.
And it's just, yeah, I agree. We want to see him healthy. We want to see him playing. The NFL is better with Anthony Richardson healthy and playing. It's a fun, exciting
I still
product.
think about that 70-yard touchdown he threw week 1. Like,
That
and
was
Yeah.
that might just be the
bananas.
best play of the entire year
It's legit. I mean, it's one
when
of
it's
the
all said
best
and done.
throws that's ever happened,
Yep.
I,
period.
I would say the two plays of the year currently are Juwan Jennings mossing and that.
Yep. Sure.
That catch by Jennings last week was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. If
Um,
only it mattered.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm joking.
It did to fantasy owners, Jamison. It did.
That's he.
Uh,
Yep. That's very true.
Fair point.
um, so Grant, I know you texted us about one certain team finally looking like themselves. Why don't you run that one down for us?
Yeah, man. So the Ravens finally showing up. Like this is the Ravens team we thought that was going to be here. And I think they're here. I mean, they absolutely pummeled the Bills, who have kind of surprised us in a lot of ways. We thought they would take a step back. Thought that might be good. And they've surprised, and I don't even think it's a slight on the Bills. Like the Bills are a great team. I expect them to be in the playoffs. The way what they've shown shows the type of football that can win them games in January. But the Ravens finally, like after the first 3 weeks, it was a complete win both defensively and offensively. This defense has not looked that great. Allowing teams like the Cowboys to creep back into the game last week. Just haven't looked the same. They haven't been getting some of the play from their guys like Matabuke and some of these other guys there. They've been expecting. They even paid, like we've talked about. Um, but the return of the king was a sight to behold. Derrick Henry in the first quarter broke free for an 87-yard touchdown. Like he always has this one a year. Like he's got the 90-yard, the 70
Mhm.
yard, the 80-yard touchdown where like he just the ocean parts and he just goes and he's bringing 4 or 5 guys with him.
The longest
Um,
run in Ravens franchise history.
and that, yeah, longest run. Yeah, that was cool. But he ends up totaling 198 yards on the ground, which is just insane. I think he now leads the league in rushing just with that. Um, but like I'm gonna say, like he looks even better. Like Derrick Henry, 30 years old. Like he was. This was like one of the like that 87-yard was like the fastest I've seen him like on like one of those long runs. Like he
Dude.
was out. He was out. Usually he doesn't outrun guys. He can
Mhm.
just move guys. But on this long run, he's actually like outpacing guys.
Untouched
Yeah.
through the hole,
Yep.
down the sideline, past the secondary. They couldn't catch him.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. 100%. And
And
like
he's
this
still
was
like
just
6'4", 250.
oh
You
yeah,
know?
Yeah.
yeah, still
Don't forget
huge,
that
but like
part. And on the wrong side of 30 years old.
Yeah.
sure. And like the wear and
Ridiculous.
tear, at getting like 300 touches when he was with the Titans, a year, stuff like that.
That
But
foot injury that he had, which is
yeah,
kind of, I think, something that gets forgotten.
yep,
Yep.
yeah. Um, but nonetheless, Ravens show up. Josh Allen comes crashing back down to earth. End of the night with 180 passing yards and a fumble. So obviously nothing really working for them. Again, I don't feel too bad about this. If you're the Bills, like, I mean, obviously you feel bad about it because you did get, kind of, the whole world was watching you play and you kind of didn't show up. But at the same time, you're still 3-1. You take your losses where you can. I mean, and the Ravens are just a really good team, and I think that they're finally here. You hope at least because again, this is a fun team to watch. They got weapons. Finally, as we've talked about, finally answering that question in the running back room, not just kind of piecemealing it together with some guys. So Ravens are here, man, and I'm excited for it.
And
They're one of my teams that I'm personally like that like if I wasn't a Seahawks fan, this might be a team that I'd be a fan of. Like
yeah,
just have been. I don't know why. It's just one of those teams
Bird Bros.
that you just like watching. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, we kind of talked about this, but obviously this was a must win for the Ravens
Yeah.
like this early in the season. Kind of crazy that they already need a must win game, but this was certainly one of them. Not looking too good if you fall to 1-3 in the AFC of all places.
Yeah.
But I think it's really, um, it's I can't think of the word right now, but it's very much so like the fact that they had a must win and that they answered that call resoundingly
Like
by
definitively.
like this game is no question we are dominating on all levels right now. They didn't just go in and just kind of barely squeak by and get the win and have those questionable Harbaugh moments or Lamar, what are you doing? Or what is this play calling? Why are we not running the ball anymore? Like the fact that they went in there, knew that they had to win against a team that was really hot and did it very, very efficiently and effectively, I think was a really good sight to see if you're rooting for the Ravens. So
Yeah. Well, and Lamar Jackson had over 200 total yards, 3 touchdowns.
yeah,
Played well. His passer rating. Oh, I had it up here. I think it was kind of ridiculous. Yeah, 135.4. So almost, close to perfect there. Completed over 70%
Yeah,
of
I
his
mean,
passes. Like that's the formula.
so right now, I'm gonna sit on the Derrick Henry stuff just for a moment, because right now Derrick Henry is on pace for over 2,000 total yards, about 20 touchdowns. He's going to touch the ball around 370 times, if
So
he
much.
continues at this pace, which would not be his record, actually. It'll be 378 in his lone 2,000-yard season back in 2020. Sorry for the camera oopsie there. And, like he is pacing to have a career year, which is what we genuinely expected because we know how Harbaugh runs the ball in Baltimore. So I I I felt great about that from day one. When this was a perfect fit. He is who they are.
Yeah.
Um, and not surprised at all that it's going well. That was a great game. I think that game actually showed a lot more about the Bills than it did the Ravens. If I'm being really honest, the Bills played three pretenders. Okay, they beat the Cardinals in Week 1 by 6. Cardinals are now 1-3. They beat the next week. They won 31-10 against the Dolphins in the Tua injury game. We know what the Dolphins are without him,
And then
and
the
they beat
winless
the living
Jaguars.
and that team's 1-3, and then the winless Jaguars 47-10. These teams are combined. These three teams are combined 2-10 right now. So I think that it just shows the Bills can beat bad teams, but the Bills probably aren't going to beat good teams. And as a matter of fact, I think, like you just said, Grant, they just played a good team, a team that we expected to be better than their record had been so far, for sure. And I think this is going to be a little bit of what we see. We're going to see some Jekyll and Hyde with the Bills. They're going to be able to handle average and play a competitive game against average. Might go their way, might not. Good teams, though, are going to get the Bills. And it's because, as we pointed out in the beginning of the season, why I said I didn't want to pick them to win this division. Matt Milano loss is a big deal. It's a huge
Yeah.
freaking deal. They
Von Miller
lost.
suspended.
Von Miller just suspended today, 4 games for a enhancement drug blah 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 violation. To everybody, it comes off major injuries. I feel like sometimes, and it's not necessarily true, but a lot of guys. But they lost 3 out of 4 starters, main starters in their secondary. That defense is going to get exposed. Gave up 35 points here. They gave up 28 to a healthy Cardinals team who's maybe going to win 6-7 games this year. A few surprises for sure and beat up some bad teams. They're going to get exposed in these games against good teams. So I think that it really does point out to us who the Bills are and made that really obvious. But before we get to anything else, and I'm just going to park on that.
Yeah.
I
Don't
want
necessarily
to
disagree.
I want to have a real strong conversation about this very quickly. Derrick Henry this last week passed Matt Forte and Clinton Portis on the all-time rushing yards list. He is now at almost 10,000 yards. He's at 9,982. He is creeping up and will pass, most likely, Ricky Williams here this next week. He only needs 27 yards to do so to make it to the 31 spot. And probably within the next 3 weeks, will pass the likes of Otis Anderson and be in the top 30, right behind Grant's guy, Marshawn Lynch, at 29. I believe this with all that I am. Derrick Henry is a Hall of Fame running back.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I have no issue stating this out loud. None. I think by the close of this career or close of the season, he's actually at the 23 marker. I believe that he will pass Warwick Dunn at 10,967 rushing yards this year. That will also get him above the likes of, as I already mentioned, Marshawn Lynch, Eddie George, Tiki Barber, Thomas Jones, Jamal Lewis, Ricky Waters. They're at number 24. And like I said, passing Warwick Dunn, he will be just behind Shady McCoy, who is parked at 11,102 yards currently. And I really believe he's got 2 to 3 seasons left where we're
At this
clipping
level.
1,100, 1,200, which makes, for me, in my mind, a top 10 finish somewhere between the likes of Jim Brown and LaDainian Tomlinson.
Oh, come on.
Very possible for yards.
Yeah, like that's a first ballot. Like you're talking Jim Brown and LT. Like, come on. That's first ballot.
Everybody above the 12,000 yard marker, which includes Thurman Thomas at number 16 on the list. Everybody above Thurman Thomas is in the Hall of Fame. Franco Thomas, Marcus Allen, Edgerrin James, Marshall Faulk. It goes up from there.
Yeah.
Every single one. So I think that he is very close on that line. You also have guys with less yards. John Riggins, Super Bowl MVP. O.J. Simpson. Were one of the worst human beings of all time.
Killer out there, dude.
Yeah.
He was a killer on the field and other places. But what's funny when you get into this list, though, is some comparables that we would not put on probably Derrick Henry's level, and that's why I wanted to bring this up. Fred Taylor, 11,695 yards. It's sitting at 17. Not a Hall of Famer, been out of the league since 2010. Steven Jackson, 11,438.
My guy.
Your guy. Sitting at 18. Then John Riggins, 19. Corey Dillon, 11,241. And then OJ, then LaShawn. I think that Corey Dillon is certainly a debatable name. I think that Steven Jackson is a debatable name when it comes to the Hall of Fame. I think that at some point he gets in, which is weird to say out loud because I would have put him in the Hall of Really Good. I'd say the same thing about Fred Taylor. I think if he clips either of those guys, from what we've watched over his career, he's made an honest case. He also will definitely finish with more touchdowns than any of the people that I have named that's not maybe LaShawn McCoy. But I think he'll take everybody else out in terms of total touchdowns, or already has. But I think he's done enough and will probably do just a little bit more to get him in there. By the way, I need to correct myself. There is one name that I did not include that has not made the Hall of Fame, and it is the number 3 rusher of all time, Frank Gore. And there's one guy who is just now eligible and may not get in because he hasn't been a great human being, and that's Adrian Peterson at number 5 with 14,918.
Yeah, I mean, see, the issue with that is, everything else aside, it's like a no-brainer that Adrian Peterson is like, totally one of the, like, regardless of stats and everything, he's probably I hesitate to say top 5 running back of all time, but his peak is unlike anything I've seen by many other players. It's ridiculous.
I don't think you have to feel bad about that. If your top 5 isn't Walter Payton, Barry Sanders,
Emmitt Smith,
Emmett probably. I hate that guy so much.
Unfortunately.
But I understand.
Yeah.
He's got 2,000 yards almost more than anybody else, or at least 1,500 more than anybody else. Adrian, and then maybe what, LT or Jim Brown?
One of those two?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. I know a lot of people want to say Jim Brown he got 12,312 yards in 8 seasons. Compare that.
With also like 12 games? 10 games? Whatever.
He was 14.
He was playing
14?
plumbers like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Doesn't count.
Or like Bill Russell.
Plumbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I wanted to bring it up because I think that we are seeing real greatness there, and that 190 yard game this week, plus the catch, and run. Dude, Derrick Henry's unreal. And I love watching him.
The interesting thing to think about here too is, like, we go back and you name all those names that you listed, and it's like some of those were obviously from before our time, especially for Grant and I, but there are also a lot of guys that we grew up watching. And then there's kind of a void, and then there's like Derrick Henry seems to be like the last form of like that kind of running back. So it makes me wonder if we're ever going to have another running back conversation like this before.
At that position, longevity is, it's just not there.
Well, and anymore. I also just think that like there's so much value now placed on the type of running back, and this is not a dog on, but like Christian McCaffrey is like what everybody wants now, right? Because of how the league has shifted.
This is a
passing league, and so like you got to have that. But I'm like, and like Derrick Henry has that, but also like his bread and butter is just give me 30 touches a game, 25, 30 touches a game
And there
on
aren't
the
many
ground.
guys like that coming out anymore. And so you
Yeah.
almost have
No.
to, if it's going to happen again, there has to be like this cyclical thing with football where somehow we get back to like running is kind of the meta of the sport
Well,
again.
and honestly, I
But
think
I don't know
some
if
of
it
that
will.
is already changing with defense. Like
Mhm.
defense is already kind of coming back. Like we talked about last year that like we were talking about defenses like the Niners, like the Ravens, like
Mhm.
and we're seeing passing being down at a historic level because we're seeing defenses
Chiefs
now.
was the other one from last year.
Yes, yeah.
Mhm.
But like now we're seeing like defensive minds becoming a thing again. Brian Flores, right? We're talking about that. We're talking about, well, who is it? The Chiefs, Spagnuolo, right?
Yeah, Steve
Yep.
Yeah,
Spagnuolo.
yeah, like Spagnuolo. We're talking about some of these like great off like defensive minds like that. That was a thing 10, 15 years ago. And then we've the Sean McVays, the Kyle Shanahan's, the Andy Reid's, yada yada yada, and
Every offensive
Belichick,
coordinator in the league was
Yeah.
getting a head coaching job.
right?
Yeah.
But we're already seeing that with like Dan Quinn getting a job again, Mike McDonald getting a job. Like some of these
Yeah.
defensive things are happening, and so
Brandon
maybe
Staley.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like Brian
Legendary
Flores is
defensive coordinator hire.
but like Brian Flores is going to get a job out next season. He's going to be head coach somewhere, you know. Like so like maybe that shift it might be then coming back on the running game as we're already seeing the passing game take a step back and
Heck yeah.
seeing
Heck yeah, we
seeing
are.
the defense come back, which I'm all for. Unlike morons like Mel Kiper. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Well, to
only
prove your
problem with
point,
that. Go ahead.
to prove your point and both of your points on that, Zeke Elliott is the next one behind Derrick Henry in terms of active rushers.
mm,
In the top 50, he's at number 40. Um, Behind him in active rushers right now is at
is it CMC?
75, which is Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah.
And then Latavius Murray is at 78.
he's
Melvin
still
Gordon,
playing. What?
yes, Melvin Gordon at 79. And then you got Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, McCaffrey, Cook, Kamara, all sitting in the top
Yeah.
100.
And these are all like those are all guys that are like those are pretty sweet running backs, but again, it's not played
Yeah.
the same way. They're not the same kind of athletes anymore. I also think
Yeah.
there's a lot more consciousness around money and the
Absolutely.
extending your contracts and staying healthy and
Yeah.
playing the game a certain way for that reason to not put the wear and tear on your body of turning around and
Yeah.
getting the ball 25 times a game. So it's just different. We might not see another guy like this again.
No,
Yeah.
and by comparison, Jamal Charles, a guy that you guys both grew up watching,
Yeah.
59th on the list, 7,500 yards, sitting right behind, and he did that over 10 years. Terrell Davis, played from 95 to 2001, sitting at 58 on the list with 7,600 yards. The game is played differently now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It just is. And there are few guys that are going to soak up 20 plus attempps. I mean,
Every
CMC's been
game.
doing it, and look what's happening to his body.
Yep.
It's just Derrick Henry is a massive human being, 6'4", like Jamison said, 6'4", 250, and he's still out, and he can still do this at the wrong side of 30. It's magic what we're watching, and I just thought we needed to mention it today and not miss the
Give him his
opportunity
flowers.
to declare the
Oh.
greatness. Yo,
Got our
Sir.
thumbnail.
Church. Yeah.
No, I know we got a couple other ones to get to. I know we'll hit it really fast. The Sam Darnold Cinderella story continues in Week 4. Vikings quarterback threw 3 touchdown passes to help the Vikings beat the Green Bay Packers 31-29. This game was hilarious, and we'll get to the why real quick. But Sam Darnold with Jordan Addison, who scored twice, got the connection going. They were out to a 28-point lead. 28-point lead. Jamison at that point texts the group and says, Jordan Love needs to come out of this game.
Yeah, that was also after he had got like his knee twisted up and he's like limping
Thrown,
around
what,
and like
2 picks at that point?
and I'm like, dude, this game is
Because he ended with 3 on the day, right? Jordan
Yes.
Love?
I was like,
Yeah.
this game is over. Like, we need to like we already brought this guy back again, brought somebody back that I thought maybe should have had another week or so
That's
based
what I
on
would
what I
think.
saw in week 1 with how his leg got all twisted up. So it's obviously good to see him back, but like if you're down that much, I'm honestly
roll him,
starting to
man.
enter like, hey, let's roll out Malik Willis again.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
already
You were-
going to lose this game.
You played
Clearly, I
well
was
with
wrong
him.
to an
Like
extent,
it's not like
but
yeah, yeah. No, the
You-
craziest
well,
thing about this Vikings team, to me, which I have it written down here, is that
Yep.
they have trailed for less than 4 minutes all season.
Yep.
That's insane. Like
Nuts.
that, like what Brian Flores is doing, obviously is incredible. I mean, we all heard the Brock Purdy saying your scheme's crazy, but like
Mhm.
they're playing, but they're playing well with like guys that are like, they're not household names. They like Harrison Smith is what? How old is Harrison Smith now? Like his mid-30s, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, no,
right, and he's
he
probably
should
like
be
they're
done.
like yeah, but like they're playing so well, and it's like the Sam Darnold story. I mean, we're now seeing that become a thing, with these guys, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, now Sam Darnold, some of these guys, that just need to find the right
Jared
spot.
Goff.
Jared Goff, right? They need to find the right spot.
I mean, Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl
He did.
and was a Pro Bowler before.
Oh my God.
But
By the
He
way,
still was kind of thrown away by McVay. He was like, I need
well,
someone
yeah,
else.
when you get Matt Stafford, yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah.
probably one of the best mutual quarterback swap trades in the history of the sport. For
Well,
what
and
it's
it
worth.
shows you that that's what trades are
Yes.
supposed to be, right? Trades aren't
Yeah.
supposed to be lopsided, right? Like it's supposed to be like you
Yeah.
get something.
I mean, we also did offload some more first round picks for
Yeah.
them that turned out to be
Mm.
pretty handy for the Lions.
but you
I
also
mean,
won a Super Bowl.
yeah,
So
but we won a Super Bowl. It's worth.
You will
worth the
take
price
that
of
every
all of
admission.
it's worth it.
Yeah.
By the way, funniest thing a commentator said this week was, who was it was doing? Oh, dude, it was Joe Buck. Joe literally said on Monday Night Football, man, there is sorry, there's nobody happier than Jared Goff that he got traded away from the Rams. And I sat there and went, bro forfeited a Super Bowl. What are you talking about, you psycho?
If he really had it, was gun to his head, what is he gonna pick? Like I'm picking a Super Bowl.
Well,
No,
especially
if he wins,
at the time, especially because that's when the Lions. Let's remember, we're not winning any football games.
Right.
yeah,
Right. No,
but
it was
you
just
also
the
have to
funniest
credit
freaking
him
thing. I'm
to
like,
his
hey, Joe,
turnaround.
missed that one. Missed that
Yeah.
one.
no,
Yeah.
But Sam Darnold now, 69% of passes, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I don't know how you couldn't say he's the front runner for MVP unless it was to talk about the guy we were just talking about, Derrick Henry.
The one point that I
Yeah.
have tossed and turned with here is I think if he were to stay on this trajectory, I think that's a coach of the year situation.
oh for sure.
And I have a hard time awarding coach of the year and MVP
The
to
same.
a coach and quarterback on the same team because at some point it's like you're splitting votes because who is doing this?
Who
Not
you
that
giving
you
the credit
can't
to?
have
Yeah,
not that you can't have good quarterbacks and good coaches on the same team. Obviously, we have Andy Reid and Patrick
I was
Mahomes
gonna say.
at their peaks, but at the
Yes.
same time, I don't think Andy Reid was winning coach of the years when Patrick Mahomes was winning MVPs.
no, like LaFleur won it a couple times.
Belichick
Yeah,
and
they just-
Brady.
They just stopped giving it to him. Like,
Just saying, like
It's
there's
the
some-
same
there's
thing. It's
some
the same reason why
but-
Jordan. While they gave MVPs to Barkley instead of Jordan, it was like
yeah,
Bros
but
won this many. Like let's just give it to someone else. At this point.
the other side of that is also when you look at if Belichick and Brady were winning those in the same year, there's also a history of those guys doing what they do, and I would have a really hard time awarding a guy who was basically a bust up until this year the MVP if that coach also won coach of the year, because to me that says
So
this guy salvaged a guy, not this guy came in and improved the situation. He may have raised the floor, but I think him being in a situation where obviously he has fantastic weapons, there's a crazy
you
defense
guys-
around him, he has fantastic coaching and play calling. That seems to me more organizational coaching than it is Darnold being the actual MVP.
But then also the other question though that I go is, does he not also potentially win comeback player of the year? Because we've seen that
yes,
it's not. Is that what you're about to bring up?
I would give him offensive
that's
player
one
of the year
things
as
I was gonna
well.
bring up.
I
Like,
think he could be an offensive player of the year, not an MVP, or a comeback player of the year.
Because like I just think because didn't Flacco win it right last year? Like in the whole,
Yeah.
and then Gino won it the year before, and it's like
Gino,
and it's like what did
you
they come back from?
Yeah, what did you come back from?
Being washed.
Sucking.
And like,
we've seen that many
but again,
times.
we've seen that's now the precedent.
Mononucleosis.
I'm
That's
just
That's now the
saying.
precedent 2
if-
years in a row now of that.
But if this happens, yes, he's going to get comeback player of the year because the precedent's set with Gino. So,
Mhm.
and if they're going to give it to Gino for that, with the way these numbers are trending right now, Yeah, Sam Darnold's definitely going to get it.
Yeah. But I also don't want to
Um,
take away from his performance because there are sometimes a like despite the numbers sort of situation where there's really good counting stats, but you can kind of watch and say,
mhm.
yeah, but like we watched the game, and that wasn't really that great. He's making throws
Heck yeah,
and
he
he's
is.
making smart
Hmm.
decisions and
Yep.
he's
Yep.
not turning the ball over. He's not getting lucky, I would say. I think he's going out there and he's doing the thing. I just hope it is, sustainable.
Would you guys not think it's hilarious that Sam Darnold might quote unquote Brock Purdy, JJ McCarthy here? He leaves the Forty-Niners
Trey Lance,
and then
Brock
goes
Purdy
and
situation.
steals. He goes and steals the
You know
starting
what?
job away from the rookie quarterback who
I
got
don't think
injured.
I don't think you can because you've never even seen JJ McCarthy play with the what was it, the ninth pick they ended up doing
Grant,
getting him for.
I'm making a comparison and it's funny.
I
Okay.
understand that, but I want to say this point. I think it'd be funnier is if he went back to the Jets. They signed him and because if Aaron Rodgers goes bye bye.
Yeah, but
But the
then
Jets
he'd
are a
be a
terrible
Jet.
organization.
Yeah, well,
And
there we go.
so
Okay. Yeah.
the
And
Jets
if
and the
that guy Woody
Panthers,
is still
both
running
teams
the
he went
show,
to.
Mm.
yeah,
But
I'm just saying they suck. Let's talk about other quarterbacks that we like though, because Jaden Daniels. Speaking of
ooh,
awards of the year, rookie of the year is on lock right now, boys.
Hmm.
Okay,
oh
I
yeah,
know Neighbors is going to have something to say about it probably,
sure.
but we know the quarterbacks
But
take
when you're a
precedent
quarterback,
here.
yeah, yeah.
And holy crap,
You want to know
26 and 30,
my favorite stat right now
hit it.
with them?
Oh, I think I know it.
Through 4 games, Jaden Daniels has led the Commanders on more scoring drives, 23, than he's thrown in completions, 19.
I believe it's
Oh,
one total punt by
They
this
haven't
offense.
punted for the last 3 games because last
Yeah.
week, I don't know if we mentioned it here last week,
Hmm.
but they
Yeah,
had
we
not
did.
punted for 2 games, and then they didn't do it again this week.
I think they
uh,
punted once week one,
Caleb Williams.
maybe
I'm gonna
twice.
forget the kid's name. The rookie punter over in Chicago.
Oh,
The
I don't know.
the punt
Oh,
god from Iowa.
the guy was booming it all game. I was getting so
Yeah.
upset.
So, uh, Caleb Williams said to his punter, "You're not going to be doing much around
Oh,
here."
yeah.
And Jaden Daniels took that personally. I was like, "Let me show you who's not punting the ball, buddy." I love watching these highlights game after game. Because of time differences and stuff. I don't get to watch a ton of these games live, but the highlights on Jaden Daniels are freaking fun. That's
Yeah.
fun football. And you want to talk about a dude that's owning his system right now. We talked about how he's getting coached up and all that stuff, and the really good coaching staff that is there for
Mhm.
him and the support that he's got from his coordinators and overall coaching staff. But 42-14 over the Cardinals, who were healthy going into that game, by the
Yep.
way. We did throw a pick, but made up for it with a touchdown. I saw Brian Johnson Jr., Jeremy Nichols also getting a touchdown. Didn't you realize that dude had a job right now? And his connection with Scary Terry continues. Another touchdown this week.
I feel
Again
so
to the
happy
back of the
for
end zone.
Terry McLaurin, dude. Like you
Yeah.
just look at where like his other draft classmates went, because that's the class of Debo, AJ Brown, Metcalf, and Terry, and like you're just like all those guys are popping off and they're doing what they're supposed to do, and he was still playing well, but like you're easily just like, dude, he just needs a guy to throw him the ball,
Yeah.
so he's not just only scoring 4 touchdowns a year, and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So I'm hopeful. I'm happy. I'm happy
So fun.
that's what's
So
happening.
fun, man.
Cliff
I know we're
Kingsbury, maybe he's just destined to be a coordinator because he's coaching the heck out of that team on the offensive side.
dude, he's a whisperer, man. Like
Yeah.
that's what he needs to do.
He may be the
That is not
coordinator
a
of the
head
year.
coach.
Oh, yeah.
Could be.
I
Heck
mean, it's
yeah.
obviously very early, but if they maintain I mean, obviously it's not sustainable to not punt for the rest of the season, and there's going to be some
Yeah.
games where it doesn't look so good.
Yeah.
But assuming that this is more or less what they are, that's a huge turnaround. And really,
Probably an
my only
early front runner.
concern,
Yeah.
yeah, and really my only concern, at least with this specific part of the subject, because I think there are still guys on that team that are maybe on washed watch as we progress through a 17-game season.
There's some older
Um,
players they've signed for sure.
yeah, it's like he is still what, like 185 pounds. So the, playing a full season of NFL football, running some of those RPOs, and he's been smart so far. He hasn't been taking unnecessary hits, but
Yeah.
No.
there's always in the back of my mind, is this, not to curse it, but is this kind of a good, like too good to be true RG3 scenario where you run this style of offense, it's really great, but the body of the guy is not built for that. And then
Yeah.
you end up going out with an injury, and then, obviously it's a devastating situation. So that's really my only concern, because his performance otherwise has been spectacular.
Yeah, but I think the difference between him and you heard Robert Griffin back in the day. I remember this well. Him literally telling cameras, I play football how I play football. They're not going to tell me to
Mm-hmm.
not be me.
Yeah.
And which was a terrible, I think, to say in the camera when your coach is Mike Shanahan, by the way.
Yeah.
But I think another generation's learned from that, and like we were talking about earlier with Richardson, this is a dude that does the opposite. He runs out of bounds. He slides. He's not
Yep.
looking for contact. He's looking to gain and go away. Move on to the next play. You've seen some quarterbacks doing a magnificent job of that. Not to pat my own on the back, but Brock Purdy clearly doing a fantastic job. Geno's doing a great job with that, by the way.
Oh, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment. But like, you see a lot of, and I mentioned Brock because of the younger quarterbacks. Stroud is doing a really good job. That dude throws well on the run, but he gets rid of the ball.
Mm.
He's taking pushes, but he's not taking shoulders.
Yeah.
I love seeing that for the young guys, and then making those good decisions. Maybe looking at what other quarterbacks have done and said, I'd like a $40 million contract. That would be awesome. maybe I just don't take those shots, and I can get there if I'll just look at the next play. And clearly, I think they're all learning. Me on the field can equal more wins, and that's everything. So
Yeah.
he's doing a great job of that. I totally agree with you. That's been our concern the whole time. But so far, so good out in Washington.
Yeah.
And
And
sure.
something I was listening to, whoever, talking about this week, talking about Jane Daniels, talking about Cliff Kingsbury, and how the Bears decided to not hire Cliff Kingsbury and decided to go with Shane Waldron. And Cliff Kingsbury, first of all, was at USC with Caleb Williams, so that could already give them a head start. But then also you're seeing what he's doing, and then you're seeing what Shane Waldron is doing. Now, granted, the Bears won and finally got a run game going. But if you look at, I saw something where you looked at DJ Moore's route tree last year without Shane Waldron, and then this year with, it is abysmally bad. I know what they're doing, and so I saw that we're talking about the Commanders. Just think of, like, what a great move by Dan Quinn to know that, hey man, I got the defense, and I'm just gonna give this to someone who obviously knows what he's doing and is doing a great job. So hats off the Commanders. I'm rooting for them. This is a fan base that definitely deserves, to see a winning team on the field, like more than maybe any other team, maybe the Jets, but like, dude,
They could win the division.
dude, I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, like,
also,
Eagles and Cowboys don't look like they're juggernauts.
Are the football gods smiling on the organization now that a certain person
He who must Voldemort himself.
Yeah.
He who must not be named.
Who must not be named. Is gone out of the picture, if you will. I mean, dude, they already announced that new statue coming out. Excited for that remake, because that first one was brutal.
Oh, Sean Taylor, dude.
One of the worst.
It was
the mannequin with a jersey. Oh my
Dude.
gosh, it was so bad.
No, they announced all kinds of cool stuff, and seem to be doing a good job everywhere around this organization, making good decisions, and couldn't be happier for a young team out there winning. And we collectively would not mind watching the Washington Commanders win the NFC East. That would be pretty dope.
Like the Lions last couple of years, right?
The Eagles fall from grace.
Yeah. It's just like the Lions last couple of years, right? They're a team that on the up that you just want to root for because everybody loves an underdog.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go to the only 4-0 team left. Patrick Mahomes. Mediocre.
He's washed.
Mediocre Mahomes, still undefeated.
I'm at the point where I hate talking about them because it's just like the same thing every week.
No, I just put stuff in here to talk about the fact that Patrick Mahomes apparently hates Rashee Rice and wants him off the field.
Dude, he tried to end his career.
Yeah, he's like, you know
He
what? I
threw an
don't want him on the
interception
field.
and then went and murdered him.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? I made a mistake. You're paying for my mistake, so I'm gonna kill your knee.
If you
Maybe owed him
missed it,
money. A little mafia kneecapping. I don't know. What it was. Owed him a debt. I don't know. But yeah, Mahomes throws a pick, and then tries to make a tackle, but then awkwardly like stops in front of Rashee Rice, and then there's still kind of up in the air about what the injury is, which is weird to me. Like,
well, they're doing the second. They're doing the second look
because apparently the first one wasn't conclusive. I don't know. We're kind of on standby on that.
I think what they're worried about is it ACL, MCL, or is it just ACL?
Oh, gotcha.
Like if there might be a slight tear to the MCL, which so they address it differently.
So this is as of 3 hours ago.
Oh, hit me. Yep. What was
not quote not as bad as they feared. That still doesn't say a whole lot. Again, as we talked about with the Shane Steichen
partial.
Yeah.
Partial
and also
could
I don't
be
know.
8 to 10 weeks.
I just looked up, Rashee Rice injury update, and then this was the first article. It's the most recent one. So, and it's from Athlon Sports. I don't know who they are, but
okay. Well, I mean, if that's real, partial could be 8 to 10 weeks. That's a recovery for a partial. If it's torn through, you're done for the year.
Yeah.
Your fastest recovery timelines are,
Paul T.O.
Peterson numbers.
Back in the when they're in the Super Bowl, he shows up and something like that, maybe.
Well, Adrian came back. What was it? 8 months.
Won the MVP,
months, something like that. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It just went on a tear. But in other words, Chiefs did win that game 17-10 against the Chargers. Justin Herbert clearly not playing as himself in that game.
Yeah.
Was trying to come back from an ankle. I gotta say, there's some real bad drops by his wide receivers in that game. They had
obviously weapons are not their strong suit this season. They're trying to save some cap space.
Dude, Quentin Johnson, I'm pretty sure had like 1 or 2 catches for either on 5 or 6 targets. I think he had 3 drops.
Yeah, that's not good.
That is really bad. That guy also has already had a monster game this year. But just level of inconsistency from a clearly very young receiving core. But that's what you get when you ship Keenan Allen out and say good luck to Justin Herbert.
And Mike Williams.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Well, do we have a problem with that, though? Because Mike Williams is...
He was awesome when he was healthy. On the field.
He was a hot, cold receiver and didn't stay on the field.
Yeah. But
which is,
still would be a better option than what they're running.
Still a name.
You guys.
Ladd McConkey showed up. He showed up.
Yeah, he's playing. I like Ladd. I think that's just a rookie receiver, though. Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
He'll get there. But no, Mahomes and the guys still 4-0. Kelsey has had a better game. Still hasn't scored a touchdown. And they just get kind of a lackluster 17-10 win after Herbert appeared to kind of tweak that ankle. And that offense slowed up after going up 10-0 on the Chiefs. So, it is what it is. Chiefs doing Chief things. Chargers just outmanned at the moment, seemingly. But we got to get to one last one because there's some stats that I'm sure Grant would love to drop on this game because it was insane. Well, I don't know if I've seen a team play the prevent for the entire second half before. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But hit us with it, dude.
Yeah, so my team does not go to 4-0. It's sad.
Did not.
But
not sad.
I know, I'm sure not sad. But this game was pretty much everything that I expected because if you've seen the last 3 of these games, like they're both in the high 30s, even hitting 40s. The Seahawks have come up in top. I think they've actually won I think it was 12 straight games against the Lions over the last however many years that is. So definitely it was one of those times, time's coming. The Lions are really good. And they're relatively healthy. They were down their center. Ragnow and then Branch was his first name? Brian Branch. They're down those 2 guys. But we had FedEx drivers at D-line. And so that did not end well. We were down our entire starting line.
Big FedEx drivers.
Yeah, they were big, but definitely not, Leonard Williams and all that stuff. But yeah, this is, to me, if you look at the score, you see 2 scores. I'm still really impressed with what the Seahawks did on offense.
Yeah. Yep.
And also, so they
Yes.
were down 6 of their 11 starters on defense. Like you're not, and against a team that's that good, like you're like Lions are great. Like that's going to be a rough night. Um, but what's fascinating about this game, which I saved for it, is that the Seahawks in every statistical category except for the score were better in every statistical category, except the final score. So in third down efficiency, they were better there. They had 38 first downs compared to Detroit's 21. Total plays, Seattle had 78 to Detroit's 50. Total yards, 516 to Detroit's 389. Passing yards, almost 400 passing yards to Detroit's 237. More rushing yards, and then they dominated the time of possession. Um, and so I am convinced. Like again, I'm not making excuses, right? All your teams have been dealing with injuries, and so everyone's injured.
Yeah.
But what I am convinced of is that if we had, 6 of our starters on defense, that we would have won this game. Like 100% we would have. Just because if you look at all of the peripherals, that's how you win. But we couldn't. It was just in the key points that the Lions were better, and Jared Goff was perfect. Um, he was perfect,
Literally perfect.
literally perfect. He threw a
Literally.
perfect game, which you
Couldn't
talk
have
about in
played better.
baseball. So he was perfect. And Geno Smith, I thought played incredible. Um, you look at the also obviously the time to throw. Obviously, the offensive line has been an issue. Also on our third string right tackle. Um, but we for the most part, Aiden Hutchinson, like he was in the backfield, but he didn't get his.
Yep.
So they were able to get the ball out. Geno Smith had a career day in passing yards and passing attempts as well. Played great. Some of his throws to evade and be out of the pocket were just some of the best throws that you can make. I stacked those throws up against anybody. And it was just also, again, not to do that, but like we did have a bad whistle. It's just true. And the moron Carlton Davis is out here saying that the Seahawks were favored by penalties. For one, Carlton Davis was holding DK on every single play, and then literally a no PI call. He was also in on that 2-point conversion, and
Yeah, they
then
should have phoned that down
yeah,
immediately.
well, and like that's also part of a rookie. You got a rookie head coach, so he was told that they were looking at it, and so he didn't do anything. But also, I'm like, dude, when you see that, you throw the challenge flag.
Yeah, you still got to do it
You still got to
just
throw the
in
challenge
case.
flag. And then there was obviously miscommunication on the final play that the Seahawks had on offense, where
Hmm.
like the center snapped the ball and Gino was looking at Mike McDonald ready to call timeout or something like that. Um, so obviously, stuff doesn't go your way. That's football. But I think you walk out of this game as if you're a Seahawks fan and you say to yourself, you can hang with the best because this game was a lot closer than the thing shows. And there was the questionable offensive PI call where we got the fourth down that would have put us within a score, but then you give the ball back to the Lions on that fourth down
There was a
and they can go
DK
up two.
fumble when you guys were driving.
Yeah, so like that, they're able
Oopsie.
to steal that possession, and
Yeah.
then they kept it within two, one score, but then it would keep it within two. They were able to just steal that possession, and so it's unfortunate, but no, if we've got and 5 of our starters were on the defensive on our front seven, so like, you know, yeah, but I
Well,
feel good. The Seahawks played
this
great
was
overall.
this was the epitome of you're obviously the numbers are there because of the style of offense when we talk about first downs and yards that
And time of
both the
possession.
Seahawks normally play. Yep, and then too what the Lions were willing to give up. Like I said, you could see them basically drop back,
Yeah.
and they were comfortable once they had that lead of just letting the Seahawks eat up yards and then stiffening up and playing that bend but don't break. It was the epitome of that defense. We as Duck fans, Grant and I have seen that many, many times.
Yeah.
The Ducks are horrendous in doing that and let a lot of teams back into games they shouldn't have. But in this sense, the Lions, it seemed like surrendered first downs to not give up touchdowns consistently in the second half. But on the other side of the ball, credit to the Lions for just being literally the most efficient team
Yeah. Yep.
maybe ever in a regular season game. That was ridiculous. That was like Randy Moss type efficiency. You think about that, the wild stat that we love to throw out maybe once a year. The 3 catches was 187, 189 yards,
The
three
Randy Moss,
touchdowns. Yeah,
164.
that one. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 touchdowns, 3 catches. You look at plays like the Montgomery
Ugh.
play, which was one of
Yeah, that one was so frustrating because I literally thought I was watching the Seahawks defense from last year.
that's the best highlight of that guy's career.
There's like,
I mean,
I
that was
swear there
incredible.
always comes a time of year where I have to sit back and say, is David Montgomery like the best back in the league? Because I feel like when the
For
agenda
a moment.
is
For
we're going to
Haley,
turn
yeah,
around, especially in Detroit. I feel like whenever the agenda is we're going to emphasize playing smash mouth, run the football down your throat style football right now, I mean, they did it to the Rams in overtime in week one. They get the ball in overtime after it kind of turns into this pass fest, and then sure enough, in overtime, they're like, we're just gonna give it to you and just move the ball, no problem.
Dude,
And I feel like
he was
every time they
great.
decide to do that, he's unstoppable. And
yeah.
then that
He
play, it was just electric.
he was
It's insane.
great. The Jamison Williams play is nuts.
That's
I
another
mean,
one that
You just
kills
there
throw
me
it
is
in
in
that
the way.
game.
nobody within how many yards of that guy.
Yeah,
I mean, that was incredible.
yeah.
His speed is elite.
And
Um,
like honestly, to go back, like I'm glad that we like. It's good for a team like this to lose a game like this.
yeah, for
You
sure.
know, like because like we still like for this is all foundational. This year is all foundational. A new coach, installing a new system, and so like being able to like have a loss like this where there's just busted coverage, where there's like so much to learn from and grow from. Um, but like, dude, the Lions came with a great offensive scheme. Like they were just like outcoached in every way, and that's just
Yeah. When and yeah, no sound bites necessary here. Like the side of the ball that should have played well. The side of the ball that was reeling from injuries didn't play well at all.
yeah.
Hmm.
And like you said, you need to lose a game here and there. And so for a team that had won 3 to start the season and kind of gotten out to a surprise start, to run into the injury bug, take one hit, and still keep it an exciting and electric game like they
Yeah.
did, I think you hang your hat on that and you go, all right, man, let's just get healthy because we
Well,
know we can score points
and
against
like
people. So
what I love too is that like for me, I was like, there was never a moment until obviously like the very end. I was like, we can still win this game. Like we just gotta get one stop, and then we would get a stop, and then it was. I really do think there's a couple plays that don't go our way, some calls that don't go our way, but that's also football. Everyone
It's a
gets
much
those.
different 3-1 than what the Bills just experienced
Yeah.
absolutely,
because you
Yes.
both
I was gonna
played
bring that up. Yeah.
you both played those first 3 games, and it's like, okay, well, who really are you? You guys are 3-0, but
Yeah.
here's who you've played. And
Yeah.
you have the Bills who play an AFC contender who get absolutely waxed at all levels. And then you play, the Seahawks, an NFC contender who, despite the score, like you said, you're basically
This
in
game
there
is so
about
much
winning in
closer than it
every
looks.
closer
category.
than the score for sure.
Yes.
Closer than the score.
Exactly. And so you've got to feel a lot better coming off of that
Yeah.
being 3-1 than, having your first taste of true competition, especially
Yeah.
in the AFC and the Bills and just crumbling
Well, like
to
because
that.
like again, like I look at the Lions and the Niners like the top of the NFC, and so I go into this what is it week 6 game that's coming up here soon. Um, like personally, I feel way more confident about this team going and playing the Niners than I did the last like 2 seasons. This season
Mhm.
Seahawk team going and playing them. Like I feel confident that like they could get the win. Will they? I don't know. We'll see how both these teams play this next week. We also play 3 games in 11 days. Don't love that. So that's
Yeah.
gonna suck.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's gonna suck.
No kidding. Well, a big question coming out of this weekend. I was excited for a couple of people that I work with. They're big Raider fans. Raiders, finally go and handle some business against another team that's not great in Cleveland Browns, or seemingly can't get their offense going. But in that, Devonta Adams ends up not playing. Doesn't look super injured. And there's questions coming out after the game. Raiders now 2-2. Yeah, even with a bad loss to Carolina. About where Devonta Adams may be.
Yeah.
Like next week. And apparently
This is
he
like
has
just
requested a trade, and it got verified today.
and like even like the what their Raiders are looking for has come out. Like a second and
Second in players.
Yeah.
They're looking for some comparable pieces. They're not concerned about contract. Because somebody else is going to eat Devonta's, which is pretty decent deal. I mean, he'd worked out his cap hit this year, so somebody's gonna take on 13 and a half, both salary and cap. which is no big deal for a lot of those teams that are contenders. You leave that kind of space to make a trade like this if you need. So a lot of possible scenarios getting thrown out. Of course, one of the first teams is always going to get tossed. I heard today. I mean, you just assume that the Jets are going to be out there because Aaron Rodgers. That's just a thing. Jets right now are saying there hasn't been a conversation yet. Like, that's what they're saying. I think that's crap.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are definitely going to have a conversation. That's just what the Cowboys do. And I would think that that's a possible spot. Look at some other ones. I mean, I've got a few names in the back of my head. You guys got anybody other than what I've said?
Let me actually just pull up all the teams. It's just so I can.
I
I'm
would
gonna need the just look at logos. That'll spark my.
from
There's a
a
dark horse.
from a we are realizing where we're at right now and the fact that our window is maybe only so big. I would say Baltimore is not a terrible destination
Mhm.
either because then you have guys at all levels.
Yep.
Obviously wide
I
receiver
like that a
play is
lot.
the more
I
questionable
like that.
outcome there. Your tight ends, Mark Andrews isn't what he was, but between him and Likely, you feel like you have some guys. But to have Derrick Henry, slot in whoever one of those you guys you want at tight end because they'll both get you something. Devontae, Derrick Henry, Lamar.
Zay.
It's
Mhm.
yeah, it's a scary thought, but it's
And that's an
maybe
interesting scenario because the Ravens have had a running back as their top receiver in 2 of their 4 games so far, including the win this week.
Yeah.
yeah. And I
Justice
like Say,
Hill.
but I don't think he's the guy. I think he's a number two.
Well, I also think that you got to throw another guy out there to take
Yeah.
some pressure off, whether
Yeah.
that's another number 2 type, if you will,
Mhm.
or if you're looking long term, maybe over the next couple of years. I'd be interested to see if they could rework a deal with a guy like that. That maybe they're only on the hook for this year plus 2, and that cap hit gets elongated with some void years, that kind of thing. Because there's going to have to be a restructure if he gets traded to a winning team. Like they
Mhm.
can't take on a
Yeah.
$28 million
So
hit and then a 30 whatever $1 million hit.
yeah. Team I'm looking at also a bird team. ATL Falcons.
Yes.
Looking at
Yes.
this division is winnable.
Nope.
Potentially needing to maybe take a step above the Bucks, maybe have a little bit of a better roster. Maybe it's kind of up in the air. They're comparable, right?
Their
Um,
second receiver right now is Ray McLeod. I mean,
yeah, that's where I
well,
go because then
yeah,
Devontae slots into the one, then Drake London at the two. And a lot of a similar situation where then you've got guys at multiple levels.
yep.
Maybe not Kyle Pitts because I'm out on him now forever.
Oh
But
yeah,
Mhm.
so like that's what I'm saying. So you need a number two. You need a number two pass catcher. Or maybe you
put
need a
somebody in the
second.
number
You need a
2.
second. Maybe not number two, but you need a
Yeah,
second option. So I like
and
the Falcons.
they have a couple interesting pieces because you would think, okay, I'll just throw it out there. So they also have Mooney. So they have Mooney and Ray McLeod. I'm just gonna throw. They have Pitts. They have London. What if they could get away with trading? Um, I mean Algier
Mm. They still need running
and
back
Mooney.
because Zamir White is not a guy. Does not seem
Nope.
to be a guy. And so
But Algier
Algier has shown he
is.
can. Yeah. He's just in a crowded
Algier's a
backfield.
guy. I like Algier and maybe Mooney or a defensive piece because they've got some good depth there now. After
Mhm.
Front
I mean,
seven,
they have the best safety tandem in the league right now.
Jesse Bates and who else?
Simmons.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
They
right.
really
That's
signed
right.
Simmons.
That was a late
So
signing.
yeah, like they do have some guys on the back end that they could possibly cut loose. I think that makes a lot of sense. And that was a huge field goal, by the way. Young Ho,
Dude, 20 points fantasy.
let's go.
It was awesome. Great.
Legend.
That game winner over the Saints this weekend was pretty awesome. Got to give it to that guy. That was a heck of a boot. He had 2 50-plussers, including a career long, to win that game. That was pretty sick. But no, there's some real spots out there. You have to say that the Chiefs are a possibility.
I just don't
but
think they're going to trade in division.
They are going to be in salary cap hell if they do it. Just throwing it out there. They can't technically. They can afford this year. They can't afford next and the year after.
I think the Chiefs would do it because you're chasing history, a three-peat. Like you are.
They're going to have the conversation.
Like
But they
like
could win it without him.
they can. Um, but I just don't know if the Raiders are going to trade in division.
Yeah,
That's just my
it's
only
fair.
thing.
I don't think they would. I don't think you do that to yourself. And but I know they're gonna have the conversation. So, but I really do like the Atlanta because of the pieces that they have. It makes a lot of sense. I've heard stupid things like the Broncos thrown around again. That's a
They don't need
divisional
to. They
Why
issue.
would
just
you go there?
you're
Um,
yeah
the
you
only
still you have to pay Russ. Like just
you
don't.
don't have anybody to throw him the ball. What's the point? Like, why
Yeah,
would he
Yeah.
be good with
You're
that
going
too?
to
He's not going to
probably
restructure for them.
right now probably
you're going to win 6 or
a
7 games.
worse quarterback
I one that we haven't
go to
mentioned
Denver.
that makes sense, but it's not their type of move is Pittsburgh. I will give that one.
Mhm.
They've been
To the
notably chasing a second. They chased Brandon Ayuk prior to the contract signing with the Niners. Everybody knows that. And he was almost a Steeler until literally Ayuk decided he wanted to stay in San Francisco. That
yeah.
story has leaked already. So I would not be surprised if there was
Do
a
the
scenario like
Commanders
that.
want to try and get someone else for Jaden Daniels if they're trying to win this division?
But you're not
You're
in
not
the
paying
window
really
yet.
anybody.
Yeah, but you're not in the window yet.
But
You
again,
want
if
the connection with
you're
Scary is there.
it is there,
Do
but
you,
I just
you
wonder.
want to?
I just wonder.
I don't know if you want to chance it. They were also looking, by the way, they were looking to another team that did get on the Ajax sweepstakes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's fair. That's a fair point. But yeah, I think the Falcons could be a front runner, and that makes so much sense because they just need a dynamic guy to make some more plays, take a little pressure off their backfield. I think that makes a lot of sense.
And I think
like that
this
one a lot.
the ultimate probably sad but true outcome is that I think we'll probably end up being the Jets, which is just like here we go
Yeah,
again
be careful
sort of
what you
deal.
wish for, man.
But I feel like it would not be obviously the best scenario for him to go win football games. So at this point, it really just depends on where he's at with that. If he feels like he's, you know, kind of done competing for things at the highest level, sure, go play with Aaron Rodgers and relive the old days. But
And have fun paying those taxes too.
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about the Atlanta angle. I do like that one too.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've been chewing
like
on
that.
that all day today. I'd really
Yeah.
been sitting there. I'm glad Grant brought it up.
Yeah, Atlanta. I mean, another team that maybe. I mean, I just don't think they will because I think they're committed to what they're trying to do. But like the Bills, I just think they're committed to what they're wanting to do and try and win this type of way. I.e., like the Chiefs in 2022 when they beat the
Mhm.
Eagles, right? Where there's like, no, or was it the Niners? Was it this last year where like they didn't really have anybody? I think it's both.
Oh, when Diggs went down, yeah.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Khalil Shakir is their leading receiver right now. And
right.
Keon
But you plug
Coleman,
in Devonta Adams, and he's instantly the number one.
absolutely. But you did spend a number one is Keon Coleman early second?
He's early second. They end up trading
So
out of the first round.
that's right. So you spent your first draft pick on a wide receiver that you expect to be a guy.
Sure.
I'm not saying that's a nightmare scenario or that it's not allowed. Like the 49ers drafted a wide receiver in the first round, paid another one $30 million, and having a $17 million one in addition to a $17 million tight end and a $17 million running back. So you do what you want with your money.
Packers gonna get him back.
No,
Down Christian Watson.
no.
I'm just kidding. I'm just looking at all the teams.
I think that's an Adams decision. I don't think he will go back.
Mhm.
I think yeah.
I don't think after the level of quote unquote disrespect that guy feels, which this dude clearly thinks a lot of himself, you can tell. Yeah. I don't disagree with the Jets take, but I for his if he wants to go win games, Ravens make a lot of sense. Falcons make a lot of sense right now, which is weird to say, but that makes a lot of sense. So I know we got to get to pick them before we end, and I've got about 10 minutes left on my battery here. So,
Yeah. So I'm just gonna get right into it. So this week we had a pretty good week. Matt went 5-0. I went 4-1. Jamison,
it's only my second time I think going 5.
I don't remember where. I remember where you.
I was 4-1. I
think
missed
you were
on the
4 and
Bills.
1, and then Mike went 1-4. So
Yeah. He was just doing his impression of us the week before.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I am currently number one, but only by I'm 12-8, and then Matt and James are tied at 11-9,
It's fine.
and then Mike
It's
is
all
10-10.
temporary.
Still close, even though we've had better weeks. We're all still close within 2 games of each other. But week one, we're talking about the Falcons, right? They're kicking off this weekend football. We got the Buccaneers at the Falcons. Matt, who you rocking with?
This it sucks that we're starting here because this is in my mind
Mhm.
this is the best game.
We can wait
Uh,
if you want.
no, no, I love it. Love where the Bucks are at right now. Love that the Falcons are scoring points. I do, as much as I like the Falcons, I do think the
Mhm.
Bucks here makes too much sense.
Yes, Matt.
Falcons got fortunate in that game against the Saints. I just don't think the Saints are amazing. I think they had a good start to the season, and they got found out. So I'm going to take the Bucks. And if I was picking scores, which I know we don't do on the regular, I'd be in that like 30 24 24 30 24.
30-24. Okay. I'm going next. I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I think they've got more to prove. So that's just where I'm going.
Agreed.
Uh,
Yeah, they got more to prove.
so yeah, I think this is pretty evenly. Again, talent wise, they're pretty even. Um, yeah, I'm going Falcons. Jameson, where are you going?
I am also going Bucks. I'm kind of
All
riding the
right,
Bucks train right now.
all right. So
I
I am,
think
I am, I am the only one going Falcons this week. Maybe it works out, but I also got a game to play with. So,
they're balling and
um,
it's in a dome. I just have a hard time going against them right now.
Yep.
yeah, that's fair. Mike also is taking the Buccaneers, on that one. So, next game, game two, we've got the Bills at the Texans. Texans coming off a win, Bills coming off a loss. Both teams are 3-1. Potential playoff implications in terms of tiebreakers. Who knows? But I'll go snake order. Mike has the Bills winning this one. Jameson, how about you, my friend?
Ooh, I kind of wanted to ride with the Bills here. I think I'm going to pick the Texans. I think the Stroud Nico Collins connection has been torching most teams. I don't know if that's really going to be stopped by Buffalo, and I think the Texans just play good football. I'm going to ride with them. They haven't been playing as good as I think I would have expected them to throughout the first 4 weeks. But all things considered, I think the Texans are going to take it. I think we kind of saw what happened when the Bills play those kinds of teams. I don't expect it to be that bad, but I don't know if they have what it takes right now, especially with again losing a couple of guys on their defense
Yeah.
to really stop the Texans. So I'm rolling with them.
The Texans play better complementary football. I'm going with the Texans.
Yep.
How about you, Matt?
Joe Mixon's playing. I'm taking the Texans.
All right.
So
Mike
yeah,
is swinging different.
that's just an absolute right now. Like watch Texans did get the injury bug a little bit.
Hmm.
You know, I saw Tank is a likely this week. All three receivers are healthy. Joe's in. I give him the dub. Anyway.
Yeah. All righty. So next game we have up is the Ravens at the Bengals. Again,
Mm,
lot of potential.
A
This is an
classic
important game.
AFC matchup.
AFC matchup, division matchup. If the Bengals win this game, that then ties them in the Ravens. Like, there's a lot going on
yeah.
here.
Chase Brown got a multi-touchdown game this last week. And Bengals seem to maybe have found some consistency there. He's running like 4.9 or something like that, 5 point a carry.
Yeah.
They need to feed him even more. So I know he's not the biggest dude in the world, and he's kind of got that scat back, third down back physique. But dude,
Hmm.
they need to try. I don't think they're gonna, and I think they're playing against the big boys this week. I'm taking the Ravens on the road, 27-21.
All right.
Ravens just, I think they got it. I think it clicked this week.
I'm going the same. I think the Ravens like this. The Ravens ceiling is higher than the Bengals ceiling.
Yep.
And I think that's a big deal when they're both playing at the top of their game because this Bengals defense is not good. Like it just has not been. It continues to just be an issue. So I am going Ravens. Jameson, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going Ravens and I'm going Ravens big.
Okay.
I think just to keep it short and sweet, I think the Ravens have probably two of the best units in the game being their offense and their defense. So I
Yeah.
I'm gonna roll with that. I'm gonna take the Ravens, and I think they're gonna dominate.
Yep. And Mike also took the Ravens in this one. So the next one we've got is game four. We got the Cowboys at the Steelers, and
A lot of good ones.
Mike has the Steelers taking this one. Jamison, how about you?
Um, I'm actually going to take the Cowboys here. I hate the Cowboys, but I again, I think they are in we have to win this game mode and we have to make up for how bad we just played against Daniel Jones and the Giants. So I'm going to say the Cowboys go in and take this one. Don't love the pick, but I also kind of want to see if I can't get another one up here on some of you guys. So we'll see.
Well, we might be swinging the same way, my friend. So I'm going Cowboys as well. I think they are still regular season Warriors. I know they're not playing that great, but they have to win to protect their little. They got to go 12. They got to get 12 wins this year. So I'm going Cowboys.
I don't disagree, guys. This just feels like what the Steelers should be doing, losing some games to teams with better overall rosters.
Mhm.
Cowboys still have a better roster. That's
There are some
for
question
sure.
marks on defense worth noting, but
Yep.
I'm not necessarily like super afraid of the Steelers offense. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope.
No. If they literally just play some two deep safety, Mel Kiper,
yeah, yeah.
I think that they can hold that Steelers offense down and get a dub this week. I don't. I think because it's on the road, probably pretty close game.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, and then I decided to do it. We have our first toilet bowl, official toilet bowl of the year, mainly because all the other ones they were more lopsided than this one. This is like the one where I feel like
Mhm.
there was the closest.
The
Um,
Ickum, we call it.
yeah. Yeah. So it is the Raiders at the Broncos. Matt, who you got? Maybe the Devontae-less Raiders? Maybe
Oh,
not.
I hate this game.
I know. It's
I hate
terrible.
this one. I hate this game. I've watched Bo Nix play football two
But
times this year.
the only other option was like the 49ers and Cardinals, and all of us are gonna pick the Niners. So I was
Yeah, I
trying to
know.
pick something to
This game sucks on ice, though. It is even. Don't get me wrong. It's just there's bad football on both teams here. Um, so for that reason, I'm just gonna go home team and take the Broncos. I don't want to, but I think anytime a team's wrapped up in that kind of drama, it takes a lot of veteran leadership usually to get you
yeah.
through
Mhm.
crap like that. And the Raiders don't have that at all. And that is a disjointed team who's probably freaking out about what the rest of their season is going to look like and are they going to trade their best players. So never a good scenario for a team to be in. We're barely through the first quarter here of the season. And yeah,
Yeah.
Broncos.
Yeah. I'm gonna go the Raiders just because Gardner Minshew's a better quarterback than Bo Nix. And he's a
Not
gunslinger.
bad logic.
And they did beat the Ravens, which I think is still a more impressive win than any of the Broncos wins, even though I do think the Broncos do have some impressive wins. I still like their win better. So I'm going the Raiders. Garner Minshew, Minshew Mania, baby. Jameson.
I'm going to take the Broncos.
Okay.
I think it's again, like Matt said, at home. It's also mile high, and they have a better coach.
That's why
Um,
Minshew's gonna sling it mile high. That ball's gonna
I
elevate.
Thin
mean,
air.
if
That's
Throwing
right.
those thin air balls.
I think that means he's going to sail a couple, and he's going to have two interceptions.
Nah, not my
So,
boy. Gotcha.
unfortunately,
Okay.
All right.
I mean, yeah, no, it's going to be a crappy game no matter what, though. Let's just be real
Absolutely.
about that part of it.
Absolutely. But
yep.
I decided to do it.
On our way out the door today, we're recording on Tuesday. Today was the beginning of the MLB playoffs, and I know we are a 99% football show. But to close it out, I just want to publicly state and reiterate my absolute hatred for the New York Yankees, and I hope they eat dirt and die in the playoffs and get swept this weekend. That would make my heart so happy. I know Grant will probably be rooting for something similar to that. As long as the Astros don't win,
Well, that's
the
why
Yankees don't win.
That's what I was going to say is like, I want to take this opportunity to say that the Astros can cease to exist and it will be the happiest day of my
Bingo.
life. I hate them. They're the worst. They're terrible, terrible fans also.
Yep.
And so if this ends up being our real, you're terrible.
That's all the real needs to be is Grant
Yeah.
just looking right at the camera and being
Yeah.
like,
I hate you,
"You're
Astro
terrible."
fans. You're terrible.
Hate you.
Hate you.
We need to throw a couple shorts. This needs to be one. The Yankees can eat dirt. The Astros suck, and we hate your guts.
And your cheers, by the way. And that'll never not be the case.
Bang the trash
Mm-hmm.
can.
Yep.
If you're mad about it, go punch a trash can. And also, I feel really bad for one particular team that made the playoffs. I've been around a buddy who's a big fan this week. The Braves just can't catch a break. Probably have the Cy Young winner on that pitching staff and Chris Sale. Dude gets back spasms in the middle of the afternoon the other day, and he is off their wild card roster this week. And they just got banged up by the Padres.
Well, and had lost Spencer Strider in the middle of the season too. Like
Strider, I mean, you look at all their young roster there. I mean, they lost guys for 30+ games to the DL this year. Multiple times over, and still managed to get there. Heck of a run for them. Felt bad for them running into a Padres team that beat the crud out of everybody to end the regular season.
Lots of first-time managers making the playoffs the first year.
Yeah.
Too, which is kind of cool. Unless you're the Astros. Joe Espada, you're the worst.
Should be a fun playoffs, but I'm just here to say it. This is the best month of the year. It absolutely is. Football in full swing. The MLB playoffs coming out hot. I'm so excited to watch some of that, even though my team's not in it. And Jamison is almost at his second favorite part of the year, which we get to his NBA and whatnot. I know my camera just died, everybody. My bad. So I'll go out without it. But it is my favorite time of year, and I absolutely love October. It doesn't hurt that my birthday is this month, and got a big one coming. So
turning 56.
Enjoy.
So happy for you.
56, 57-ish. But no, enjoy the month of October, everybody. It's going to be absolutely electric, and looking forward to Week 5 of the NFL. We'll be back here to recap all of it next week, so join us. We'll see how we're doing on the Pick'em, and we'll see how our Toilet Bowl went, and Game of the Week, as we called it, Bucks-Falcons. You heard it here. We'll see you on the backside. Let's go.
Have a good one.
Later.